Hey everybody, it's Ron Jackson with Keeping Tabs with Ron Jackson, and we have our special guest today, Mr. Chris Adams. Welcome, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on the show talking with you after knowing
Great.
you for so long.
Yeah, me too. And you're hailing out of what city today?
Right now I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's where I study music, and I moved out here a number of years ago.
So actually, let's talk a little to the audience a little bit about how we met, Chris. Um, yeah, could you tell us how we met, actually?
Yeah, I was going through Instagram Reels as one does when they're bored. And you see a lot of these guitar players and bassists and all these instrumentalists, you know, performing and putting on their brand, and I saw Ron. And at first I was like, oh wow, like I really like his playing style. It's very unique and it's very um, like something kind of I wanted to strive towards. And um, you know, I didn't immediately know he did lessons, but he kept popping up on my feed. And if you've ever seen Ron's videos, he's a quirky, funny guy. So I thought this guy would be really cool to take some lessons from, and I reached out through Instagram, and we took lessons for about a year to 2 years, I think.
Even longer than that, I think. What year was that though when you actually started talking to me?
I think that was 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, it's been a while actually. You know,
Yeah.
and so one of the main reasons you wanted to study with me though was for a goal. What was that?
Yeah, I wanted to, get more into understanding how to play around with jazz vocabulary and in a more in-depth way where I could get feedback. At the time, I didn't have any teachers, and I really wanted some feedback on my own playing and some tips on things I could practice to kind of get more into jazz as a genre, because I've always played around with jazz here and there, but I never felt comfortable, and still do feel pretty uncomfortable. But that's why I enjoy playing it. Like it's a challenge that pushes me outside of my comfort zone. And Ron was able to help me, give me some goals of things that I needed to get in order, and things I needed to practice in order to get that vocabulary in the place where I wanted it to be. And it's still a journey. I'm still practicing all those things, um, and then trying to get more into it recently. But I do gigging with things that are not jazz related. So a lot of my stuff I play professionally is more um, you know uh, R&B, funk, um, everything adjacent to jazz, but not so much jazz in particular. So I understand that jazz is like the genre that kind of gave birth to all of these things, and I feel if I want to play those other genres more effectively, I should understand to play jazz more effectively. You know.
Yeah. So when you signed up with me, you were also studying, no? And what were you studying before you went to the current university that you're at? What were you studying?
I was at CU Boulder. I was studying physics. I was doing that for 3 years. Kind of my whole dream for most of my life was to become an astronaut. But
That's
you know,
interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah, I was doing physics. I was trying to get my pilot's license and doing all these steps to get in order to become an astronaut. And then I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore, and that what I really wanted to do was play music.
Oh,
Um,
really? I mean, that's
yeah.
a big difference. I mean, you don't want to be a space cadet.
Yeah, I did, but not so much. I think it'd be cool, but the steps to getting there is a lot, and
Oh, I
I didn't
know.
know
That's a
if I
hard.
could do
Like,
it.
how many people in the world become astronauts?
Not many people.
Very, very. I mean, I don't know. One out of how many billion. That's a lot. It's like, you know what I mean. This you have better odds in other
Yeah,
things.
you have better odds of becoming a world leader or president of the country.
Yeah, I
So
mean, so what we did too. When I remember when we started working together, that I helped you with you audition to get to
yeah,
schools.
yeah,
That was the
you
main
helped.
thing too.
Hmm. Yeah, you helped me a lot with that audition, and because some of the requirements were playing jazz tunes, and amongst other tunes, they wanted me to play uh, a funk tune, and they wanted me to play something kind of that I made up. Um, but I also had to play two jazz tunes,
Which
and
which two tunes? Which two tunes were those at the
I
time?
did Blues for Alice
Oh wow, I
and
remember.
Waltz for Debbie.
Well, those are not easy songs, actually.
Yeah, the Waltz for Debbie was quite the challenge. Every time I look back at that video, I'm like, not quite getting it, but it
I
was,
need to
it
I
was
need to
all right.
memorize that one. I mean, I played that. I just always have to look at it like
Yeah, there's a lot of
a
chords. There's a
lot
lot
of
of chords.
chords, a lot of melody too. But
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, you started study. Then you eventually got into University of Colorado at Denver, yes, in their jazz
yeah.
program.
Oh no, not the jazz program. It's a performance program.
Oh, performance. Excuse me. Is there a
Yeah,
jazz program there?
they don't, but the campus is shared with MSU, and they have a jazz program there.
What's MSU mean?
Metro State University.
Oh, I didn't know they have a jazz program there. I don't have any idea
Yeah,
about the
they don't
program there.
have one here. They have performance program. So I do performance with a bass emphasis, um, and then I also
Oh,
double in
cool.
recording arts. So I'm getting my recording arts degree as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they had like a. I mean, yeah. Now I remember it's a performance. So in the other school, did they have a lot of jazz musicians in there or something?
Uh, I wouldn't say a lot, but
Yeah.
a decent amount where you could if you need to find one, you can for sure. Uh,
Interesting. Yeah.
definitely
We have
more at
we have
the
we have some fans watching right now. Your mom, she says woohoo, just so you know. So hi,
nice.
Lisa Adams. And we have Jeffrey, a big fan of mine, who's watching right now too.
Ah,
He's like a big fan of mine, but he's a fan of yours now.
oh,
You know,
oh, yeah.
while we're going, while we're going, and we're talking about this conversation, we'd like to please let everybody know right now what your social media is, so they can follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Adams Music. That's my handle. And then I'm in a band called Fiamore, and you can follow us at Fiamore Music. Um,
Wow.
and, and we talked a little bit about having the band on the podcast, so I'll kind of save some of that stuff for then.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you guys are gonna appear. What kind of music does your band Fiamore play?
Um, every time somebody asks that question, I struggle to answer it, but I think it's a genre. It's kind of a mix of soul, R&B, and funk, but also somewhat in a pop context. Um, so it's got
Oh,
some pop influence, but you wouldn't necessarily call it pop music. It's definitely more R&B, and
oh, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so you guys are trying to get a recording out now, aren't you?
yeah. We're working on our recording. It's been a lot longer than I had hoped. Every time somebody asks me when's that going to come out, I tell them, "Oh, it's going to come out at the end of the month," and then the next month rolls around and we're still not done with it. We're planning on making a lot of changes um,
Oh,
with
cool.
the way we go about recording things. So uh, we've had to restart a couple of times just because we want to make sure that it's 100% right before we put it out. We don't
Oh,
want to put
great.
something out that we are not happy with. Um,
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it because you guys have been working on it for a while now. Before we keep going, I want to ask you a couple more questions. Where did you grow up? Because you're not from Denver originally, no?
yeah, I'm originally from Los Angeles. That's where I was born and raised. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up out there was it's similar. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences, of course.
The
Um,
weather's nicer in Los Angeles all the time, no?
yeah, the weather in Los Angeles is pretty nice, especially if you're kind of within 10 miles of the coast. It's pretty good. As you get a little more inland, you don't really get that breeze as much, and it gets really hot.
Wow.
Uh, but I grew up out there. I grew up playing music for um,
Really? What
a
age
long.
did you? Wait a second. What did you start playing? And what age were you when you started?
I started in piano lessons when I was around 6 or 7. And
Wow.
I came up to my mom, and I was a huge fan of Queen. And I saw the drummer, and I wanted to be a drummer. So I went up to my mom, and I was like, "Can I take drum lessons? I really want to drum." And she said, "Every great musician, they start on piano." So I was put in piano lessons, and then I never did drum.
Oh, wow. And then how did
um,
you switch to? Did you play guitar too, or somewhat?
yeah,
Or
I eventually stopped with piano fairly soon. I only took lessons for about 2 or 3 years, and then I started playing guitar when I was 12 because I got really into the band Nirvana. That was like obsessed with Nirvana. Um,
wow, wow.
like it came to a point where my guitar teacher at the time told me, "Hey, like you're not allowed to learn any more Nirvana songs. Like you have to pick something else. Like we're only
And
doing Nirvana."
where were you studying? Where were you studying? A
Uh,
school?
no, I had a private teacher that I met.
Oh,
He
wow.
was teaching one of my friends in school. Shout out to Scott Waldman out in Los Angeles. He's
What school was that?
uh, it was called Village School. It was an elementary school, a little small private school in the
Oh,
California.
wow.
Um, and that's where I met Scott, who I still talk to today. Scott Waldman. He's now doing manager stuff out in LA. I don't think he does lessons anymore.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but he's always been a great friend and great mentor. And eventually, I was in high school, and I met some friends who played music, and one of them was a drummer. At first, I would go to his house and play guitar, and we would jam, just improvise stuff. And then we met another guy who was a guitar player, and he was way better than me at guitar. So he would come over and play lead guitar, and I would do some rhythm stuff. And then we met another guy who could play guitar and sing. So then I was like the odd man out, you know.
So you
And then
started playing bass.
I switched to bass, like the classic story of a bass player, you know.
We need a bass
Nothing.
player, man.
Yeah, they just need a bass player. And the second I started playing the instrument, I was like, oh, like I think I should do this one instead of everything else. Like I don't like anything else. Like
Wow.
I threw the guitar out. No, I'm just kidding. I still have the guitar. Uh,
You still have it, okay?
yeah, I still
Yeah.
have the
So
guitar.
yeah, that's great. So why would you want to move to Denver out of Los Angeles? So what was the reason to go to school? Really?
Well, I wanted to do physics and engineering at first. So when I was applying to schools, I got into Boulder, and Boulder has an amazing physics program.
Oh, wow.
Uh, so I just decided to commit.
Wow.
Yeah, because the other option that I had was Embry-Riddle, and there was no music program there. And I knew that I wanted to take some classes in music, even though
Okay.
that wasn't what I was planning on doing at the time. I wanted to get,
So
you
they had
know,
some music there too. Cool.
yeah, they have a whole program there. A whole every,
Nice.
you know. So I was a music minor, but I would take the music major classes. I kind of would test out of the lower level classes and test it into the higher level ones with the music
Oh,
major.
cool.
And like from the first semester, like I just kind of realized that I felt like I belonged more when I was in those classes than when I was in the physics classes.
So
uh,
that's how you moved out of physics and you became a musician.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what was I going to say? So like, actually, since people are watching and they never heard you play, would you like to play us a song today? Because I know people are like my friend Jeffrey here. Actually, Jeffrey says hi, Chris.
All
Hola,
right.
Chris. Oh, and then he also says hi to your mom. Hola, Lisa. So he wants to see. I'm sure people want to hear you play because they want to see what
Yeah.
you learn. They want to see what you learn from me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I guess I'll as a bassist, it's when somebody asks you to play when there's nobody else, it's a little bit of a tall order for me. But I hope that I have some stuff prepared for you guys. I've got I was asked to play two things, so I can save the
You
other
can
one
play.
for.
No, you'll play one right now. And you'll play one later on in the show.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
save
yeah.
the other one for later. That one's a little more
So what I'm
exciting.
gonna do is I'm gonna have you go solo. I'm gonna remove myself from the stream for a minute while you go over while you do something. Okay.
All right.
Here we go. You have full screen now. Here you go.
So this is a tune called Dune Tune. I'll play just the first parts of it because as it goes on, it gets a little funky with the drums and everything, and it just wouldn't sound as great. So this part sounds pretty good with just bass, I think. And then it gets really funky eventually. I recommend anybody listening should check that tune out. It's a beautiful tune, and whenever I feel kind of lonely or anything, and I'm home alone just with my bass, I like to just kind of play that one because it just has
Very
that
nice.
kind of
Very
fun.
nice. So that's not your song?
No, 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 it's not my song. That's by Level 42. It's called.
Oh,
I wish that was my tune. That'd be really cool if I wrote
you
that.
wouldn't be talking to me. You'd be saying, "Hey, Ron, who's that guy who wants to interview me?"
Yeah, if I wrote that, I'd probably be playing a lot more stuff. I don't write very much. When I do write, it's for my band. I find that the whatever's going on in my head is usually some form of improvised music,
Hmm.
or it's bass. Like I kind of when I hear some song without bass, I fill in the bass in my head, um, and
Yeah.
or it just sounds like some improv stuff. So I don't really write very much. Like compositional things.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Jeffrey gave you a hand.
Huh, thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah. He's one of my biggest fans, and he's a fan of yours. So you're about to finish school soon, like in about a year. So I want to ask you a question. So you're becoming a pro musician right now, and so what are the challenges of being a pro musician to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the biggest challenge is trying not to compare myself to others,
Hmm.
um, because that leads to its own set of issues. Feeling like an imposter in some scenarios, or feeling kind of unworthy of what I've either already have, or unworthy of what I could do. And
Interesting.
often, as a musician, I'm sure you probably resonate with this, and a ton of musicians resonate with it. Where it's one day you're like, oh yeah, I'm on it, like I'm doing really good, like I can play all these notes and I'm just killing it. And then the next day you're like, oh man, like I'm terrible. Like what am I doing? I got to practice. You
Yeah,
know.
that's true. I mean, how? What about you as far as working as a pro musician too?
Oh,
How's that
the
coming?
work aspect. I guess. The hardest part.
I mean, is it? I mean, is it? Do you have a lot of gigs? You teach.
Not
You right now. You teach, and you have a lot of paid gigs to
not as
make a
many as
living.
I'd like. I'd like to pick up more gigs, and that comes with just kind of getting my name out there more as a musician in Denver. By
Hmm.
going to jams and things like that. So yeah, I guess the hardest part would be like finding more consistent gigs. There's certain areas that we go into, or that I can go into, that are consistent, like playing at a church or playing. Uh, yeah, that's probably the only really consistent one that I can think of. Everything else is kind of up in the air. Maybe it could get canceled. Maybe it won't. Um, so right now, I'm just trying to stick my foot into the door, and make myself
Yeah, you
known
got
to
to go
other.
hang out. You got to go hang out and meet people. Maybe network. Go to network, sit in.
Yeah, I've been
You know,
going to some jams. That's a great way. That's how I got. I was just rehearsing this morning with a rapper that I play with. His name's Alex Blocker. If anybody wants to check
hmm.
him out.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and
Does he have
he
any gigs coming up?
Yeah, we've got a gig coming up next week on the 6th, playing at
Oh,
some art gallery. Um, so
oh,
jams.
cool.
I've had a number of people reach out to me for jams, for one-off gigs here and there. Um, the only thing is like making it more consistent. So trying to get um, more people who just don't want like just a sub, and things like that. That's usually what I get called for, is some sub stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I also occasionally get called. My roommate is a audio engineer at a studio here in Denver called CCM. And whenever an artist wants a full band, he'll call me to play bass. But none of those are.
And you'll get hired for that, obviously, no?
Yeah, yeah, I get paid for those.
Good.
It's different every time. I want to work with the artist, because for me it's about the experience more. So if an artist can't afford a high hourly rate, like, I'm totally willing to work.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. You should negotiate definitely if
yeah,
you have to. But you should don't never undercut yourself too much. You don't want to be because otherwise, you'll never make a living.
yeah,
You got to make sure you're that you have good rates for whatever you do. I try to tell all my students that because you're one of my students too. Actually,
yeah.
it's very important to be like that. And before we keep going, everybody, I have a public service announcement for you that I'm going to show you right now. And then we're going to continue with our podcast with the great Chris Adams, hailing from the city of Denver. So let me show you this right now. Check this out. Here we go. Thanks for watching my podcast, Keeping Tabs with Ron Jackson. Please follow me everywhere at Ron Jackson Music. Also, check out my website called www.ronjacksonmusic.com, and you can get cool merch like this. Take lessons with me. You're going to find the best cool things on the internet for jazz, guitar, 6 and 7 string. So I appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you in the next show. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So that was my little public service announcement. And there's a couple more questions I want to ask you, but um, you know, so so do you ever want to move? Stay? You got to stay in Denver for your career? You think, or you might want to move back to LA where there's maybe a lot of more work possible.
Yeah. I'm not really sure right now. Right now I've got some good connects out here in Denver. And I have some connects out in Los Angeles, and of course I'll probably move back there at some point in my life. That's where my family is. So at some
Mm-hmm.
point I'll definitely be back in LA. But as for now, I've considered possibly staying here. Maybe moving to another place if the opportunity seems right.
Uh
Someplace
huh.
like Chicago seems really cool, or New York. Um,
Yeah.
just see what that's like. I just like the music scene that I see from social media. It looks really good.
Yeah, LA is it's like a huge industry, but and I never knew Denver as being one of those places, but there is a scene there, and
Surprisingly, but sorry to cut you off, but
no
I
problem.
wanted to mention this statistic, because a lot of people don't think that Denver's a music town, but it's actually ranked the second largest music town per capita in the United States. In terms of venues, like venues per capita per person, there's more here than LA. The number one is New York, and then Denver is actually second, and it's growing in size, very, very rapidly.
Interesting. I never knew that. I was supposed to be in Denver in about 2 weeks, but I'm not going to Denver. So just so you guys know, there's a guitar festival there called the Rocky Mountain Archtop Guitar Festival, and I usually go there every year since the pandemic's was over, and and actually um, I went there last year and I met Chris, and I invited him out for breakfast, and just so you know, Chris was a student of mine online for like a couple of years, and then finally about 2 years, how long ago? 2 years ago, I met him in Los Angeles when the NAMM show was starting up again. In what was like April, I think 2022 maybe.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so.
yeah, and Chris, I finally met him in person.
Yeah,
And after all that time, and then also we got to go to the NAMM show together because he had never been, and
yeah,
also I actually gave him a lesson in person for once,
yeah,
which was funny, because we never really studied. He never really studied with me in person. So, Chris is a great student, and he's really improved a lot since I've known him, and becoming a pro, and the thing is, I'm not going to be actually at the Rocky Mountain Arts Guitar Festival this time because next week I'm going to Aruba to play
oh,
and teach. And everybody, I mentioned to the guy, Hendrickson Amps is a great company out in Denver, and you should check them out. Actually, when you get a chance, because Chris, because they're starting to, they're. I heard that now they expanded their company, and they're going to start making amps for basses, sound systems for vocalists, not only guitars. So they're expanding. So everybody check out Hendrickson Amps. And if you go to my, just letting you guys know that I'm a Hendrickson, I have a Hendrickson code that you can actually get 5% off Hendrickson Amps if you use the code Ron Jackson.
yeah.
But
My
so that,
school just got after you came through. I'm not sure if you had an influence on this or anything, but my school just got a few of those for our recording rooms, and they sound great. They're really clean.
yeah, they're great. Yeah, so what happened was, I'm showing the code up there. So Hendrickson Amps, um, they're the ones who sponsored the jazz festival, and they're known for the small jazz amp. They're called. I have the smallest one, and they're really great. They're high quality amps. They're on the high end of the price range, but they're really worth it. I've had mine since 2017. I've never had an issue. And what's cool about it is when I go on tour. When I saw you at the school, I know I forgot. I don't think I used my amp there, but I usually tour with that little amp. I throw it in my suitcase. It weighs 13 pounds. It's 120 watts. And it's pretty cool. You know, but yeah. So this year I'm not going to be making that festival, unfortunately. And it's what the funny thing is when I told Peter Henderson, the owner of the company, that I'm not going to be on tour. You know what he said to me? I wish I was going with you. Because I'm going to Aruba, which is like a Caribbean country in the sun
Yeah.
and shade. You know what I mean? So, Chris, people are all you people are dying to hear you play another song, man. So, what are you gonna play?
Okay, I'll do another one. I'm gonna play along with "Got a Match" by Chick Corea. Chick Corea's electric band. I'll do the head and I'll do one round of the bass line and I'll take a little solo. Um, and hopefully it goes all right. It's quite a challenging tune. And every time I play it,
I'm
it's
gonna
either
remove myself too. Okay,
huh?
so you're gonna be by yourself solo. Here we go.
All right. Every time I play this tune, it goes either really well or not so much so. So take it or leave it. Here we go. So
Oh, oh,
there's
wow, wow. That's all. That's all. I wanted more. I wanted more.
I mean, I could keep going, but
Yeah. Sean Smellman says, listen to this. Sean Smellman says, awesome sounds, Chris. You've got a great instructor. Blessings.
absolutely, Ryan has shown me a ton of things. You know,
Oh yeah, it's
he's a
my
great
use.
teacher.
Oh, there's a guy named Johnny Adams who says it's my
That's
UCLA
my dad.
hot. I know, I know.
This is
He's like
his.
it's my. I don't know what that means, but that sounds kind of interesting. Oh, that's my UCLA. Oh, that's your
It's the,
UCLA hat.
yeah, it's this hat right here. That's his. I
That's
stole.
that's really funny because I thought it said UCLA hot. I was like, what is that? But it was this hat. But you know what? We have some good hats here, everybody. Look at this. My
Boom.
Bob Evans hat, man. Just trying to get some chitlins. Let's go. You know. Yeah. Chris, great job, man. Um, so everybody, this is Chris Adams. He's I know him as Crispy Adams. He's a current and former student, and he's I met him. We've known each other for quite a while, like 5 years now, almost. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Almost.
2020 is 5 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's a great student. He actually, I helped him get into the jazz program, well, the professional music program at University of Colorado Denver, and he's becoming a professional musician. He's living his dream, you know, in the beautiful town of Denver, which is nice. I've been there a couple of times the last couple of years for for their music festival, the guitar festival. That's called the Rocky Mountain Art Shop Guitar Festival. And Chris, tell everybody again where you what your social media is and where you want them to follow you and your
Yeah.
website.
You can follow me at chrisadamsmusic. There's no website, just Chris Adams Music at Instagram. And then you can follow my band. It's Fia More Music.
How do you
Uh,
spell that though? I
F.
actually you
Oh.
should. Can you write that in the comments? Is there well you can write that in the comments?
Um. Do you see this?
Yeah, if
Or
you
not?
once you write it, then you hit enter. I can think you could see it in the comments. So because I don't know how to spell that. Look at Chris, your mom says your mom and dad are watching. Man, that's the biggest part of the audience right now.
I wrote it in the chat. It's
Oh, yeah. Oh, let me see. You put it in the chat. Let me see.
did it work?
Oh, let me copy that. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it in the comments. So it's
Uh,
called Fiora Music.
Fia
So
More.
everybody can watch that.
Yeah.
So please,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, Fi is Latin for or yeah, it's Latin for fire, and then amore is love. So fire and love.
Yeah. So Chris, that's thanks for coming on the show. I mean, you know, so I'm looking, forward to seeing you again and and watching your career take off. And before we leave, is there anything else you want to talk about or have to say to your audience, to my audience? You
Um,
know, make sure you everybody just make sure you follow Chris and follow his career. You know, and
and if you're interested in my band, which I hope you are, that's kind of my main project. I promote my band, I guess, more than myself. Then please do. You know, we've got one single that's already out. It's called Laren, LA space RIENE. And we'll be putting another single out later this year. So I hope you guys take a listen to it.
I love your dad said, "Good job, Chris," and then and your mom says, "I've been paying you for 5 years." To me, I don't know what she's talking. What she's talking paying me? What she say that for?
Oh, for lessons?
I know. Your mom's been paying the lessons. I know. Not Chris. That's pretty funny. I love it. Lisa, you're funny. She put a laughing face too. She's so funny. Yeah, Chris has made so much improvement, man. It's just great, you know. And and uh and I really, you know, I'm so happy for you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on my show. So we're gonna have your band Fia Aura?
Fia More.
Fia More.
Yeah,
We're gonna
like
have your band and you on the show maybe in September, October, whenever you guys can get it together.
yeah.
You know?
It's hard to get 7 people in the same room at once.
Oh yeah. So you
Yeah.
got to see if you guys can get a good internet connection and go through your computer and get a good camera together. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Definitely be planning that one out, so that we can all, get a good shot of everybody in there, things like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wrote the names. Your mom says I wrote Ron. Ron, you wrote the name in the comments. Yes, I did it on purpose. Yeah, but you know, I have to look at the because your mom was saying I wrote the name in the comments. It's just I don't know how you say it. You know,
Fia
pronounce
More.
that too. Fia More.
Yeah, like amore, like
Oh, interesting.
I love like
So is that
amore.
Italian?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
A mixture of Latin and Italian.
Interesting. Interesting, man. I can't wait to hear the music, man. You know.
Yeah. I'm excited to put some more stuff out. Every song is very different from that, from the other ones. So just
Cool.
we have one single out. All the other ones are very different. So if you didn't like that one, then
well,
for the next ones.
well, I'm sure we'll like something.
Yeah, there's for everybody in there.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is great, Chris. So thanks for coming on the show. You know, it's your first interview ever, no?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, good, good. You'll be getting a lot more when you're a Grammy nominated Billboard shopping shopping bass player. You
Yeah,
know,
one day.
great. So we'll see you guys soon. You know, and I have like a final banner to show everybody, and we're going to say bye. Let me show this banner to you guys, and I appreciate you guys watching. And watch this, and I'll show this to you guys right now. Hold on, Chris. Thanks for watching my podcast, Keeping Tabs with Ron Jackson. Please join my Patreon at patreon.com/Ron Jackson Music, and you'll get cool perks like picks, books, vinyls, CDs, and downloadable lessons. And you can even score a lesson if you join the new Patreon referral program where you can earn a free half-hour lesson for referring somebody who joins my Patreon for a year, and also get a discount of 10%. And most of all, you can be on my show called Keeping Tabs with Ron Jackson, my new podcast. So join my Patreon, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you, and thanks for watching. So, Chris, you like my public service announcements? They're pretty professional, huh?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I like how they kind of pop up and then,
Yeah,
it's
this
like
is I'm using a platform everybody called StreamYard, which is really I go live all the time recently, and I can actually multi-stream to a bunch of different platforms. You should use this too when you start doing your stuff.
Yeah.
And Chris, and so I could have streamed also to Instagram and Facebook at the same time, but I try to just stream this podcast on YouTube. But so everybody, just so you know, you can tell all your friends, Chris, for your friends who never saw the podcast, they can watch this all the time on my YouTube channel, watch you over and over.
Nice.
So you could share this link with everybody and watch. They can watch it again, and you can watch it again.
Mistakes will now live forever on the internet.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about mistakes. No one knows you make a mistake unless you go. Ah! Remember I told you that before?
Yeah, yeah.
So you'll learn.
Some mistakes are a little too jarring, even if you did play it off, I'm sure.
Yeah, everything was fine. It was great. It was great. Also, look, your mom says, oh yeah, so there's some great comments at the end. So your mom said you wrote your mom said Ren. What is that?
Oh, Loren that's our single.
Oh, that's your single. And your mom said definitely banned on the show. And then Chris Boyle, my fan of and a fan of yours now, said great show. And Loren can be found on Spotify, your mom said. And your mom says a lot of stuff. Fun show, Ron. So thank you, everybody, Johnny and Lisa and everybody who watched, and some other people came up. Sean Spellman was one of my former students, actually. he's watching too. He said good. He said to you, continue success, Chris. You know, so you got a lot of fans now, Chris. And once you show this podcast to other people, you're gonna have thousands of fans. So thanks, Chris, and have a great day.
Yeah.
In Denver, it's like 2 hours earlier. It's getting late over here, but still early over there.
Yeah.
Just
So
kidding.
yeah.
And continue success, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, bye, everybody. Say bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye.